What did you do in-person notarizations first?
Yeah,
And
yeah,
how long did you do them? And then how did you find Ron?
yeah. So I have been a notary for about 13 years. And so I started
Oh,
back,
wow.
yeah. So I started back when I first started banking. So I started banking, I think, when I was maybe 21. And so like I started as a teller, they just had me get my notary commission very in the very beginning. I didn't care. I was like, okay, whatever. People would come in, they would bring stuff, I would stamp it, and that was it.
Mm-hmm.
And so then that was 10 years. And then I got out of the workforce kind of and started doing more different types of jobs. There was a little bit of a life change, got a divorce, and then I started to look into building my own business because I was working 6 jobs and that was not fun.
Wow.
Yeah, it was a wild time. So working 6 jobs, found out
Fun
about
times.
fun times. Uh, so found out about loan signing because I saw one like I was scrolling through social media at like 3 o'clock in the morning, freaking out because I was like, I have a newborn, like I have to figure this out. And so there was a social media post that was like, oh, $150 an hour. And I was like, oh, okay. And so I researched it, found out that that was actually a thing, and then started to become a loan signing agent because like it's different between, being a notary at a bank than to become a
Mm-hmm.
loan signing agent. There's stuff that you have to do. So I started, knocking out that stuff. I did the in-person loan signing agents. It was fine, but I didn't necessarily love it. Um, and then I found out about Ron because on the notary block, you know how it says you have to check if it's in person or remote. I was like,
Mm-hmm.
what is that? And so I looked it up and then I was like, oh, remote, is that available in Florida? It was. I jumped into that and then that was all she wrote. I basically went all in on remote as much as I could because then I could spend more time at my house. So, yeah.
So would you say that that's what attracted you to it is the ability to stay home? You obviously had a newborn at that time, so the flexibility of time, basically.
Yeah, 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 because like, as I was a loan signing agent, I also had other jobs. And so it was like a constant, almost like goodbye for my kid. And so then that was not what I wanted to do like as a parent. So I was like, all right, it was very, very difficult because I had a degree, but what didn't really amount to anything that would translate into making more money. And then the cost of childcare was more than what I would have made, if I went back into banking. So I was like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, the math is not mathing here. So then honestly, it was like, yeah, it wasn't just because I wanted to, it was because I almost had to figure out how it worked. And so, but that's what I'm saying is that I really do think that it obviously has been a lifeline for me because, with my circumstances, I'm not the only single mom out there where it's like, oh man, but it has been, that's why I like using this platform to be able to kind of talk about it. Um,
Right.
because other people have been like, I resonate with your story. I'm like, I'm sorry, but like I'm glad that we found each other. So,
It,
um,
it it's so important because it can be a really, it can be a lifeline. There are people out there that are just looking for something that they can do to
mhm.
make money, and this is a good way to do it.
Yeah,
Once you have the skills and the knowledge and to be able to do it, it's a good way to make a living. So
yeah.
congratulations on that.
Thank
And
you. Yeah.
all this success you've had with with your platform and stuff like that.
Yeah.
What is the strangest place you've ever done a ROM from?
Oh, a remote online notarization? I mean, well, I travel all over the place. So I have like done them in my car, like in hotels. The strangest place would probably be at like a now, okay, if you're watching this, don't do this, but like it was an emergency. So I had my bag and I was at a different place and I had to do it at like a random kava shop. So I always have my bag packed where it has headphones. And so that is important to always bring if you are a remote online notary, just so that way, if you do have to do a closing last minute, I was at a kava shop at like late at night. I
Hmm.
didn't want to be going through and getting the wiring instructions from someone or like going over customer sensitive information while that's happening. So that's not that's not suggested. That was an emergency situation. Usually you want to be somewhere a little bit more private, but yeah, a random kava shop. Either that or on vacation, I'll be at in a hotel, just kind of hanging out, and then I'll go out, do some fun stuff, go on vacation, and then come back and, work a little bit more. So, but I do like the flexibility. When I have the freedom or the time frame available, I do like going to different cities.
Hmm.
Has been obviously very nice.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
What, where do you see your business going in the next few years?
So I have finally gotten to the point where I am comfortable stepping into leadership a little bit more. And so, because that is a skill, and it did take a good amount of time for me to be like, so now I've scaled it to where I do have a team. I built out the Roadmap to Rod mentorship group where, I kind of teach people how ideally I would like people to navigate remote online notarization. So it's almost like I have a team built in continually. So I've built that out. I will probably always do the mentorship and the training. But then also I feel comfortable scaling the notary business so that way there's more clients coming in that way. So both growing the mentorship and the signing service to, capacity.
Right. I
Yeah,
mean, if you got that, you've cracked the code because that's being the ability to scale in this business to get beyond what you can produce by yourself is amazing.
thank you.
And especially with online notarization, it's even more flexible.
Yeah, it's honestly been once I got everything figured out, or like, for the most part, it's been honestly really, really cool because I have had different opportunities come in through different pipelines of, whether it be social media or in person, and they're like, hey, I have this capacity, can you do it? And it's like, no, by myself, no, I can't. But now I have the ability to work with other remote online notaries that I'm like, yeah, okay. And I feel good about putting the work in front of these other notaries because they've also gone through the same training. I host trainings all the time where it's like, okay,
Right.
they're gonna represent me well. We're gonna work together. Like I know the things that I did in the past that might not have been, like the communication errors, are mostly hammered out. So that has been super helpful with the business.
What's the biggest struggle as a business owner do you feel that you face?
I mean, for me, it's always imposter syndrome because as much as I feel like I've progressed as a person and in business, if I meet someone new, I feel sometimes like I'm starting back at scratch, where I'm like, yeah, I'm a remote online notary. And then they're like, okay, but what do you actually do? And I'm like, okay. It's almost like a litmus test where it's like, no, no, I'm a notary and I'm a good one. Like I know how to do this,
Yeah.
So that has been a little bit of an interesting aspect of, I have a good amount of accomplishments on the back end. And then when I meet someone new, I'm like, I'm a notary and I'm pretty good, like I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the imposter syndrome is always there.
Yeah, you get that a lot, when you go to networking events and shake the hand of a title person or whatever that you met, and you'd be like, well, what else do you do? You're like,
Yeah.
no, this is full time.
Yeah.
I mean, I have some real estate investments that I pay attention to every now and then, but they pretty much at this point are on self, autopilot. So
Mm.
I do this. I focus my energy on this,
Yeah.
and again, I try to be really good at it. So,
Yeah.
and with me, it's like sometimes I'm in, th two different states and three different counties over the course of a day. So by the end of the day, I'm like, where am I?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like state of, I'm like, I got to think about it for a sec. County of, I got to think about it for a sec. So, it's like, it's just, but you do, you can, was it, go to bed with satisfaction because you've done a good job at the end of the day. So
Yeah.
that's
Yeah. I
all
mean,
right.
yeah,
I
but
was,
that's one of the things is that like it's it's fine because there's so many people that don't understand what it is that we do, and also that you can scale it to the point that it is a business and it's you get repeat clients, you're well known, you're respected in your community. But like as soon as you almost say notary, um, at least for my case, when I do meet people that don't necessarily know, they're like, "Oh yeah, my aunt does that," and I'm like, "Okay, but I don't know that it's to the same degree." Like so
yeah.
uh,
Well,
I
yeah, you meet a lot of I know for me personally, I meet a lot of people. They're like, oh, you say, oh, I'm a notary too. Yeah, I got that years ago. They got it because their boss had some contracts that needed to be notarized, and
Mhm.
rather than running out to a local UPS or a bank or whatever like that, hey, I'm going to have my assistant get her notary license or his notary license, and that way I can do it in office.
Yeah.
Great, but I've helped 500 people close or refinance their houses at this point. I've
Mhm.
sat at the bedside of people that were in nursing homes and helped them get their powers of attorney signed and stuff like that. And
Yeah.
sometimes that role is it's you almost become like a hand, literally a hand holder,
Yeah.
counselor, stuff like that. And that's the kind of stuff they don't tell you when you say you want to be a notary, is that when you're in person, particularly for me. And it
Mhm.
kind of was one of those things where I started realizing that some of the people I've helped have died,
Yes.
because I was, they were sick and I was helping them sign their power of attorney or their whatever. And, um, and there is an emotional aspect to that, you come in and you need to, kind of read the room and make sure that, you know, this is somebody's loved one
Yeah.
that was arranged, and you're there to help them, but also they are in a particular situation. So
Mhm.
and then that's the kind of thing that they don't really tell you when it's like, hey, you can do loan signings and you can
Yeah.
make this much money per hour, and you can do estate planning work. Well, estate planning work is planning for somebody's death, and sometimes they do that planning really close to when they're going to die. So
Yeah.
um but it and I personally love doing that. Like I said, I love going, and I like talking with old people and hearing their stories and stuff like that. I love stuff like that. So again, that feeds to my personality.
Mhm.
But yeah, that's the kind of thing they don't tell you about when you become a notary, and the difference is that um there can be. So
Yeah. Yeah. I definitely agree that there's a lot of different nuances where it's like funny, especially with the role that I'm in with the mentorship and is that sometimes like I'll talk to them about like social media marketing and all of this other stuff. But then on the other side of it, I have to put on a different cap where I'm like, okay, this is what we're looking for wire fraud. This is how we're making sure that the elderly aren't taken advantage of. These are the legal requirements that you want to look out for XYZ. So it's like, yeah,
Mhm.
social media marketing, we're talking about pricing, like this, let's make money with this, but then also I'm like, this is the back end of the things that aren't so much fun, like aren't as fun to talk about, but are almost more important,
Mhm.
the fun stuff. So,
Yeah, and a lot of the stuff that just doesn't get discussed when you're getting your commission or anything like that is, you are a public servant that is trusted, and
yes.
you need to do that. And like you said, wire fraud and stuff like that. Like I don't take deeds anymore, and if somebody calls me up and says, hey, I want to
Hmm.
transfer this deed into my name, or I'm doing this or doing that, and I'm like, is there a title company involved?
Yeah.
And they're like, no, it's a private. Okay, I'm sorry, I'm not the notary for you.
Hmm.
So, just because there's just a tremendous amount of fraud in this industry, and we are the ones that are kind of can be a last guardian against people getting homes taken away from them and
Yes.
all kinds of stuff. So that's the serious part of this job is, yes, all that stuff that you just talked about. It's very serious to talk.
Yeah, yeah. I'm actually going to interview a attorney a little bit later on this month about that, about someone that gave away their stamp. and so what happened to them afterwards. So it'll be an
Oh boy.
interesting interview. Yeah, it's going to be an interesting interview. So yeah, but tell us how to find you for if anyone would like to reach out.
So I am at State Line Notary on Instagram, statelinenotary.com on the web, and you can reach me. There's phone numbers and email addresses on those platforms, so you can find me that way. But I'm dual commission New York and New Jersey, so if there's anybody in the Rockland, Westchester, Bergen and Passaic area of those two states, happy to help.
All right. Well, thank you so much for coming on, and I appreciate your time.
Thank you, Katie.
Thank you.